Hey, what's up, everybody? Jerry here from Lockshin Productions, and today I'm going to continue with part 2 of modeling the wine and juice scene in Blender 3D. So, today, guys, I just want to put the material on this glass. I said I was going to model about 2 or 3 glasses, but I think I should get to the exciting part first before I go back to modeling the glasses. This part is going to be about the materials and the lighting of the scene and everything else, so that this scene can look better. But I'm not gonna put the juice inside, the wine inside, I'm just gonna put the materials on this scene and set up this scene first. Okay guys, let's get started. And as you can see, that the scene is just as we last left it. And then I'm just going to do something quickly to I'm gonna set up the material first, the world material, and light the scene with the HDR. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come to the bottom left. Oh, before I start, let me just turn on the screencast keys so that you guys can see what I'm doing. All right, and you can see again at the bottom left there. So I'm gonna hit new on the world tab here, and this screen will pop up, this window will pop up, and I'll click on color here and choose environment texture. That's what you do when you wanna light the scene with the HDR, high dynamic range image that will light up the scene. So this scene HDR comes from HDR Haven, and I'll put a link in the description down below on this tutorial. And guys, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on the tutorial so that I can improve, guys, and know what you guys like and what you guys think I should improve on, work on. Thanks guys, and let's go ahead and keep working. So when you hit Z on the button Z, this screen will pop up, and then you'll choose it. If you choose rendered, you'll see that now it's going to take you to the rendered shaded view, the rendered view, and you see now you see in the background of the image, which is the HDR that we are using, and you see a glass and the background. It looks like this glass is sitting on the table, but actually that is just the background, because we didn't model that background. We didn't model it, so it's just the background. So it's not like the actual scene, but we're gonna make it look like it's the same scene. So let me see if I can scale this a little bit down and see, because I think it's looking a little bit weird. You hit S to scale, guys, and you move the mouse, and then G, Y. I just want to position it a little bit properly, and G, X again, move it to the X axis. Yeah, I want it over here. G, G, Y again. I'm gonna move it over here. Yeah, perfect. Sorry about that. And now that I've set up the scene, you can actually see that it's looking a little bit better now, the glass. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to crank up the strength here to about 3, and you see that this light will be a little bit more brighter. So I just put it up on 3. And then again, what I'm going to do is now let's do the material for the glass. Now, usually when you come to the material tab down here, the shader tab or material tab, and you hit new, you will see that the material workspace pops up like that. And by default, the material that's given to every object that you assign the material to is the principal BSDF, is the master material node that makes the materials easier in Blender. So, but you see that it's popping up on this side panel here, which it's not very easy to work in because it's like congested. I think the space is a little bit too small to work on. So instead, if you hover over here on this line over here, you see that there's a plus sign there. If you hold down the left mouse button and drag that to the left, you see now the new window opens. You can zoom into this one now, and Now you have another window here that is open and it's on object mode and on the shaded viewport. And then if you come up here and change the editor type to shader editor, this window now pops up and changes to this. Now you can see that we have the material tab. If you have worked on in Blender materials before, you can see this is the material, the principal BSDF shader that is applied on this. You see that this glass is white, this is the white, and everything else, the other values are down here. So this is what we're going to use to make this glass a real glass. So how are we going to do that? The first thing that we're going to change is, usually by default, this is not pure white in Blender. I don't know why. But if you look at the value here, you can just increase that value to 1. So it's pure white. And then the next thing that you're going to do is to come to transmission here. That's what changes that into a glass material. If you put 1 on it, you'll see that it looks like a frosted glass, like a glass, not much transparency. It's because it's like a glass that comes from the fridge, out of the fridge. And then that is because of the roughness here. It's got some roughness, so it's not completely glossy. So if you want that glass to be glossy, and which is going to add more transparency, you can just reduce that. Some people put it on 0, but I usually put it on 0.018. It's just the value that I prefer. There's really no reason for that. And you can see now, immediately, boom, the glass is there. Actually, with this, I think I would say my glass is perfect, because you can see now it's looking really very much like a glass. But another thing that I have to mention is that most people, what I've noticed is that I saw one tutorial on the Blender Foundation YouTube tutorial channel. Yeah, there is some blackness sometimes when you look at the glass over here in this on the thickness of the glass. Yeah, there's some blackness usually, and according to that explanation in the tutorial, they say that it's not the realistic way of looking at the glass. This, I've changed some values here, and I don't want you guys to miss that, because I didn't understand exactly what it means. Maybe I'll link the channel as well, the video as well at the bottom, so that you can listen for yourself and hear why you have to change those values. But the values are actually down here. This glossy value here and this transparency value, they are actually low. But according to the tutorial, when you have to raise them up, I think it's about 12. Let's see the value 12 on both of them. I'm not sure if you will see that much difference. Yeah, there's some blackness actually down here, but when you increase it to 24, both these values, transparency and the glossy, to 24, that blackness goes away, which makes the glass look a little bit more realistic. And that's just about it, guys. With the glass, I think I was gonna say I am done, but let's do something else, which is edit. But you can see that what I want to do is, you see on the scene here, you can't really see the reflection of this glass on the table. It's because of that is an image behind. It's just the image behind. It's not interacting at all with the glass. So in order to fake that interaction, what we're going to do is, I'm going to change this to the shader viewport so that you don't see anything, and come to the top view. This cursor here, let's see, Shift S, cursor to, I want the cursor to go to the selection. Let's select the glass and say Shift S, cursor to selection. Where is that? Cursor to selected. Perfect. Now you see that the cursor is here, and then I want it to be down though, but the bottom of the glass is not really there. So, but that's fine. Let's say Shift A. Now mesh plane. We add a plane and it sits right there where the cursor is, because normally that's where whatever you add on the scene, it's gonna be right where the cursor is. So the cursor is right in the middle of the glass, almost. So I'm going to hit G, Z to move the plane down to the bottom of the glass so that it can act as a table. Let's see. It must be seated properly down there, and I want it to be slightly touching. G, Z, and if you zoom in, you can see now it's seated properly. And coming to the top view, let's see if the plane is big enough. I think it is. Yeah. Now we have the glass sitting on the plane, and when you go to rendered viewport again, you'll see the plane there. It's white again. Now it's covering that thing, and you can already see that the shadow of this glass is being cast over here on the plane, and it's going that way because of the more light comes from this direction. If I turn around the HDR, you'll see that outside here is a window, so that is where the most of the light is coming from. That's why when you look at it from this angle here, the shadows are going that direction. So I don't want this to be visible, and what we're gonna do first is we have to apply the material to this, and in order to give it a color, because I prefer that you always change this to match the color of whatever you are trying to show. For instance, if this was a floor, you would change the material of this to look like a floor. Now that it's like a table, let me switch off that plane again quickly so you can see the table again. You see the table. You have to make it match this so that if any reflections are being cast back to the glass, you'll see exactly the table reflections because of it. What if you this thing if it's white and those white reflections reflect here, the scene will look weird because it's interacting with something that in the original scene it's not there, even though we're gonna make the plane invisible. So I don't know if I'm explaining it properly, but let's put it back on and do what I'm trying to explain. Let's go back to the shaded viewport and select the plane and hit tab. It's selected. U for unwrap. Choose I usually do project from view for me, that's fine. And then we're gonna change this to the UV editor again here, from the shader editor to UV editor, and then this is what you're gonna see. It's like you see that the shape of this plane, you're seeing it there because we chose project from view. And then we're going to come up here and hit open and open the HDR. I want the texture of this to be the HDR. So in order to make it look right, we have to scale this down, of course, and grab it. I want to put it because it's going to take the material according to the material of whatever you put it on. What is happening here? Oh, gee. I just want it to look like a table, so I'm unwrapping it and placing it on the table like so that it can take the color of the table. Perfect. And then now that we have done that, I am going to change this back to the shader editor and add that material. But right now it doesn't have any material applied to it, and then we're gonna go back to this on the side here to the material tab, which is this one right here, and add new and name that table and table 001, yeah, because I had a table before. You see that now the material is here. So now in order to add that image texture, we have to change it from white now to take the color of that texture that we placed. So in order to do that, we say Shift A, texture, and image texture, and then we're going to put it here. Then we're going to open that HDR because I want it to be the one affecting that scene. And then the color, we're going to have to plug it into the base color here. And when you do that, it's going to take away this and use the color of that as a color for the plane. See, the color is gone. Now you don't have that option. Now this is used, this image that you open in this, it's used to texture that. So let's see if when we change from to the material viewport here, let's see if that will show. Is there anything showing? Yeah, it's showing. You see now that the table has taken the material here from this, and it's probably, if it were, it would be the one that you that is casting reflections to that. So again, now let's go to the rendered viewport and see what's going on there. Yeah, here it is. It took the color of that. So for me, this is good enough. But what we want is that it must be more closer to this. And you can see that this table has some glossiness. It's not too it's a little shiny. So, and when you look at the scene again from here, you can see that the stuff that's placed on that table, you can see the reflections at the bottom here. Yeah, so we want to make it look like that right now. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna select the plane. Let's bring back the plane. Select the plane, and on the material here again, add some glossiness. That means reduce the roughness, make it glossier. And when you reduce the roughness, depending on the amount, you see when you go all the way to 0, it's very reflective, and then but it's not that reflective. So something like so, for me, it's good enough. Yeah, you can leave it there, and you can see, start seeing the stem of the glass reflecting down here, which is good enough for me. And what else? I think that's it. I prefer it like that. And then now we actually just want the shadows. We don't want this plane because it's hiding the background. We just want the shadows. So in order to make the plane affect the scene but not to be visible, we're going to come to the object data tab here and scroll down to the visibility, and you see it says mask shadow catcher. If you click on that, immediately that plane disappears. You can't see the plane anymore, even though you see this line for the outline because it's selected. When you click somewhere else, that line disappears. Now you are seeing the glass. The glass is actually showing on and the reflections are showing, and you can see that you see it better because of that light that's somewhere behind there. So that's perfect. I think for the material we would say we are done, guys. And I'm going to file, save, and this is it. The material for the glass is done, and we are not doing any what do you call it? We are not putting wine inside this glass for the time being. So this was just the material, and see you in the next one, guys. Remember to comment, subscribe, like, and share your feedback so that, guys, I know what's working and what's not working, so that I can improve on these tutorials, guys. I want to learn with you, and we have to do this together. Thank you, guys. See you in the next one. Ciao.